Hey, how's it going?
What's going on, Ed?
Man, thanks for coming over and hanging out today. I appreciate that.
This is great. This is great.
Yeah, this is episode 2, which is really exciting because the first one went off and
This is.
it didn't get pulled from the internet or anything, which
This
was
is
really
exciting.
great. It is exciting.
You kept your language to a minimum.
Minimum. I had a few swear words and
You know, that's the great thing about a podcast. You can say whatever you want.
I can say whatever I want. I can drink whatever I
Yes.
want to. And
We can.
And just like last time, we have some more scotch. And this time we actually remembered to bring in the bottle.
Yes.
So, yeah. That way,
Refills are very important
I had a
to
couple
us.
people say that it seemed like, well, I was drinking mine really quickly. So I wanted to make sure that I had plenty to refill.
That's a problem.
It is a
Maybe
problem.
we need an intervention.
I don't know if I need an intervention yet. The thing is that it's like anything else. I feel like the more you have something, the more you get used to it, right?
Yeah, I mean, for breakfast is probably pushing it.
It is. And I don't have it for breakfast necessarily, but
Depends.
Early afternoon, on, of course, the weekends only.
Obviously, yeah. Work to be done.
Work to be done. And speaking of work, so something that we were kind of talking about ahead of time off air was
Yes.
so traveling for work. And in the past, what have you done for traveling for work?
So I did like a couple year stint. I worked for a machine tool company, and I worked on CO2 laser machines. I went basically all over the country. My title was North American Field Service Engineer. So Mexico, Canada, U.S., everywhere. So you can imagine some of the things that go on, different things from Mexico to Canada.
Oh, I can only imagine. So in this position, you're flying obviously more so than anything.
Yeah. You would you leave on every Monday morning. You'd catch a limo to the airport in Chicago.
Limo, yeah.
Yeah, because a limo is the same cost as a cab, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So who wants to ride in a cab?
Exactly. Wait, now, what year was this, by the way?
Oh boy, this would have been 2002 to 2004.
So let me try to think back, and this is the automotive side of me thinking. So 2002, and it probably wasn't a new limo you were taking, right?
They were all fairly new.
Was it?
Yeah,
So were they all like Lincoln?
it was.
They were Lincolns.
Yep, almost every one of them.
Which model?
The Continental.
The Continental.
Yes.
You know what's funny? Not to get distract from this, my grandparents had a town car growing up. That thing was awesome.
Yes.
Floaty, big old thing. It was like a mid-90s one though. So think of that.
It's like sitting on a couch. Yeah.
It really was, but I feel like it was that body style that was more square.
Yep.
Not I can't even remember now for sure what year it was, but it's like that mid-90s time frame. I always remember where the trunk would like seal itself down. You bring it down, right? And
Yeah, it had the automatic latch.
right. And then if my fingers were in there,
How'd that go?
and thankfully they were never in there.
Oh, I thought you said they were.
They would if they were.
Oh,
If they were, right?
yes.
Exactly. So you took these Continentals,
So
baller
the funny thing
Continentals.
is they're all okay. So you call the limo service. It's not necessarily a big stretch limo. It may just be a sedan or whatnot. But anyways, you're still riding in style. You're not riding in the yellow cab, right?
Sure, yeah.
So that was good. So that was every Monday morning you're up and you're catching that 6:00 a.m. flight out. So I may go to, depending on if you're doing, let's say you're doing an install of a machine.
Yeah.
You may go out, you may be there for 2 weeks. Or if you're just doing service work, like for example, you might fly to Seattle, go out, fix a machine, 10 minutes later, drive back to the airport, hop on a plane and go to Newark, New Jersey the same day. Then you might hop on a plane there the next day if you fix something, head to Monterrey, Mexico.
That's crazy. So what were these the machines that you were fixing and working
So
on? What were they doing?
They were a CO2 laser machine, so they're used in manufacturing for basically cutting sheet metal. So automotive manufacturing had a lot of them, and you'd be amazed at some of the places that had them. Like I remember, I flew into Little Rock one time, and these are like $1 million machines.
Oh yeah.
And so, by the way, at that point in time, we didn't have GPS. This stuff didn't exist, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So here I am. We had Microsoft Streets and Trips.
Streets and Trips.
Which was basically glorified MapQuest, but you could use it without being connected to the internet because at that time nobody had internet, right?
Right. Yeah.
So you anyways, at this particular one just reminded me of it because it was like near Texarkana, and I'm looking for this place. Can't find anywhere. Anyways, there's a trailer, a mobile home in the middle of a field with a barn next to it. And there's $1 million machine sitting in there. And one guy out there just making money.
What's he making with that machine?
So,
I know what the machines do.
Right. He's manufacturing parts for bigger people. So maybe it was for GM or maybe it was for, yeah. And so he's just one guy out there making parts and just making money like crazy. And you would never imagine, having that in there. But with that Streets and Trips, I never knew where I was going. You'd type in the address and it would take you to a neighborhood somewhere, or it isn't like it is today, especially when I would be like in Canada, near Montreal, where it's all French speaking.
Yeah.
This was not fun.
So Streets and Trips, is this something like on a Palm Pilot or something you were using?
That stuff didn't exist yet. No, there was laptops.
Oh, it was on a laptop.
So you could bust the whole laptop out.
Yeah.
And type in the address, and it would get you close. So that was pretty fun.
Texarkana
was awesome.
Cool.
Here's the worst part. Everybody's like, man, you're traveling the world. This is the best job ever. It's terrible.
Yeah.
You go there and you work 12 or 14-hour days in a machine shop. Right?
Right, yeah.
I'm not out sightseeing.
No, absolutely not. And then you're having to fly all the way, like you said, in, the other side of the country.
Yeah, just depending on how long the stuff was. Now, we had a lot of good times.
Oh, of course, yeah.
There was, depending on if you were doing like a big install project, you may have other engineers with you. So you might be there for 2 weeks with other guys, and you build a lot of camaraderie with the guys, and you have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Get in some trouble.
Sure.
There was a engineer from Japan. We had a machine way up in the middle of Canada, and we couldn't figure it out. And so they flew a guy in from Japan, never been to the U.S.
Yeah.
So imagine this. He's from Japan, never been over. I pick him up at the airport in Chicago. I had a big lifted Chevy Silverado.
Nice.
There's 12 lanes of traffic. I picked this guy up at the airport, and he's riding in my big hillbilly lifted pickup.
Yeah.
Speechless. Didn't even know what to say.
Sure, because they don't have big trucks over
there. They don't have big trucks. They don't have the traffic. They don't have, and so he couldn't believe it. So this guy I had a lot of fun with this guy.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
We went to McDonald's. First time ever. You've been to McDonald's in Japan.
Sure.
They give them this is at the time when no matter what you bought, they would give you like the 64-ounce Coke. You remember they went through the spell where there was no small.
Sure.
And so we order our food. He gets up to the counter and they hand him this jug for his soda. And he hands it back.
He didn't want that much, right?
He says, no, small.
Yeah.
And I said, that's all they have. And of course, he barely speaks English. So he takes it over to the fountain pop machine and just goes, and that was it. And that's all he drank for his whole meal, which was hilarious.
That is hilarious.
He did comment that American women were large. That was one of his
culture shock.
That was one of his big things he commented on.
What was those drinks,
Yeah. So he did comment on that and the traffic and the people. My highlight, though, of my trip with this guy, we were on the Purdue campus in Indiana, and they had penny pitchers of beer. And so it's customary for them. They don't want to. If you give them something, they will take it.
Yeah.
Okay. So me and 3 other engineers were with this guy. And so we all just start drinking pitchers of beer.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, he was absolutely hammered, dancing on the table, singing Michael Jackson. Can't even speak English, but he's singing Michael Jackson on the table, hammered.
So what was that guy's length of being over there? And did he end up staying over here after all that fun?
No, he went back.
He went back.
I think he was probably here for a month.
Yeah.
And he was with me for an entire month.
That's a long time. So think about it. If you had to be gone for a month, right?
Yeah.
That'd be just absolutely, it'd be hard to stay away. Did the guy have a family?
He did. Yep. And the ironic thing also was just the culture that they're used to for working.
Sure.
Again, they only brought the people in from Japan when it was a very difficult problem to fix.
Do they write the software or something? Is that why?
That's where the machines are manufactured.
Oh, they're manufactured over there.
And so when there was a large problem, they would send them over. So, but these guys, they smoked like 42 packs of cigarettes a day. I mean, it was insane. They're lighting cigarettes off cigarettes.
Were they like Marlboro Reds or were they menthols?
That's a great question.
It doesn't matter.
That's a great question. I'll get back to the cigarettes in a minute though, because I have another story about that.
All right.
So, but they absolutely would not take a break until they figured it out. If we're standing in front of the machine, you know, I like to eat. Obviously, I like to eat. Okay.
I hear you.
And we're like, let's take a break. They would just stand there and smoke their cigarettes and stare at the thing and figure out new stuff to do. It was amazing. These guys were workaholics.
Wow.
Which is good. And there's a reason why they send them over, right?
Sure, yeah.
But, no, speaking of the cigarettes, it reminded me. Canada. You go to Canada for work, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times you're working with other guys, they like to go to the male establishments up there, right? That's their favorite thing to do while they're up there working.
Sure. I think I know what you're talking about.
So anytime we might possibly go in one of them places, if they had American cigarettes, it was like a ginormous magnet, because then they knew you were all American, and that's where they thought all the money was at.
Oh, yeah. They were drawn to that.
They were. Because up there they smoke Players Clubs, and I don't even smoke, but I just remember that's what they...
What the hell is a Players Club?
That was their cigarette. That's like their Marlboro.
That was, huh?
Yeah. So they would smoke their Players Clubs. And as soon as they seen a pack of Marlboros, it was, it's a magnet. Bum on a bologna sandwich, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's it's so funny. Thinking about growing up, I had mom, my dad and stepmom, they smoked Camels. I think mostly my dad, probably more than anything. But remember the Joe Camel?
Yes.
And the, I feel like they were called C notes or something, like the currency you could use to purchase your Joe Camel's
I do,
swag.
yeah, because they had the dollars that were in the packs.
That's what I'm talking about. I think they were called C notes is what they were called.
I don't recall.
That's all right. No, I just remember seeing those back in the day. Let's see if we can pull that up. C-note.
I don't think that's the same
there
C-note. There you go. Yes.
There we go. Yeah, we'll get a larger picture of that one. It's not really giving us much here, but yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
If you get 500 of those, you get a free pack of smokes, right? Or something,
Sure.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I just know, I remember those from back in the day when you were talking about those cigarettes and the ones that, I don't know why that popped in my head. But so you would be up there though. They'd be drawn to the guys that had the.
They did. They love the American cigarettes, and
Sure.
and everything up there is full service. So there's always that you have to deal with. And some of the guys that were not, my lovely wife I have now was also my girlfriend at the time.
Oh, sure.
But some of these guys would spend their paycheck having a good time.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
The entire paycheck, and they would have a good time.
Any particular place in Canada that was the hot spot up there for you guys that you remember?
No, there was a few different places up in the basically like near Montreal is where a lot of that was. It's like two separate countries up there. We would work on the other side of the country where you're, like if you fly into Toronto and it's all the English speaking parts, it's like two separate countries up there. From my perspective, coming
like
in
French side of English
French
side.
versus English, and they don't like each other.
Oh, they don't.
There's a lot of animosity between the two camps.
Sure.
So that was always interesting. We had a good time up there. The beer up there is amazing.
Yeah.
Love beer.
Oh yeah, of course. I used to obviously drink more beer than I do now. But so what was so they just had a bunch of breweries up there, basically.
Yeah, and just the normal like Labatt beer and some of the normal stuff that you can get here.
Gotcha.
Has a totally different taste when you actually get it in Canada. When it's here, it's still brewed by whomever.
Sure.
So it is a little different. And the people up there were in a lot better shape too, physically, I think, than what I'm used to seeing here. They walk everywhere. You go to like Montreal, they're walking.
Yeah. That sounds absolutely miserable.
Yeah, there's people walking everywhere. So that was a lot of fun up there. The amazing thing was you'd be on a plane. They would land the plane with 10 inches of snow on the runway up there. It doesn't bother them. All your rental vehicles are 4-wheel drive. They're just used to it. It's a different way up there.
Sure. Yeah. Well, 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. I'm assuming a lot of cars with all-wheel drive, like Subarus and things like that.
Yep. So I learned what I needed in French to get a hotel room and eat.
Sure.
That was really about all I needed while I was there.
Yeah. I don't have a whole lot of experience being in Canada. The only time I can remember being in Canada was when my mom used to live up in New York because her husband at the time, he worked for Bridgestone Firestone.
Sure.
So they basically, when he got transferred to a new store or a new position, they basically went from Quad City area, East Coast.
Sure.
And when we went to visit one time, my stepdad's mom and his stepdad took me. We went up over, I feel like it was Detroit, and went over the top.
Okay.
Yep. And
Yep.
I remember being young and seeing like I feel like it was some fast food place up there, but I remember I could tell the difference even at a young age, just being in there. And maybe
Absolutely.
it was like the pricing, or maybe it was, it just looked completely different.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, that's my only experience up there. And then Niagara Falls too. Have you ever been there before?
I have, yes.
Yeah. When was the last time you were there? Do you remember?
It was actually when I worked for that company.
It was for that
Yes.
company. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, I thought.
It was, yeah.
Even at a young age, I remember that still pretty well.
Yeah, a lot of our stuff was in, like I said, small cities, or like other than like Detroit and some of the ones, Cincinnati. We did do some bigger city stuff, in Chicago. I was based out of Chicago.
Okay.
But a lot of times we ended up in remote areas where it was just
yeah.
manufacturing and.
Well, like you said, that barn out in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yeah, that was really something out there.
You have to be a little worried, right?
When you're pulling up, you don't know what to expect. It's like Deliverance.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually heard some banjos.
Did you really?
Not really, no.
Someday I want to get a banjo.
I'm surprised you don't have one.
I'm just saving up my pennies for one,
Yeah, you should do that.
I'm thinking about getting a banjo.
Tomorrow?
Not tomorrow.
Okay.
No. But I'm thinking to do it, the 6-string banjo way. That's and I've seen those. I've played one a little bit before, so it doesn't have, and I don't know anything about banjos, so I'm sure somebody's going to be upset about this. The banjo that has the string on the top, your top string that doesn't go the full length right up to the headstock. I have no experience playing around on those, but I remember playing a 6-string one that's set up kind of like a regular guitar, but of course it had a different tonality being that.
Than standard.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I don't know if that'd be the way to go or not. I have to research it. Probably the last thing I need is another instrument laying around. I recently got that dulcimer that I told you about. Yep.
Have you played with it at all?
Yeah, I did. So one of the hardest things with that dulcimer to try to figure out is the tuning. It's funny because if you look at the dulcimer, it has 4 strings and it has 4 pegs. But it's funny because I'll show you this when we're done. You can actually move the strings to different positions on like the bridge down below or the nut up top. So you can pick where you want them to be at for spacing, which was kind of interesting.
Unique, yeah.
Yeah, but it almost seems like, and I don't know enough about it to be 100% for sure, but I feel like it's an open tuning that it's tuned to, and there's multiple open tunings you can use to basically you hold with one finger and then you strum with the other one and play these open kind of chords. And it was basically, from what I read, and I don't know if you saw anything on this, but it looks like it was for folk music in like the back in the day, in the Appalachians.
That was going to be my question: is where would you use this?
Apparently, in the back in the day, the Appalachians, when it's like some filler for folk music is basically.
I actually
did.
I did YouTube that after I seen yours and just like what?
Yeah.
What does it sound like? It's intriguing to hear all the different world instruments.
Well, I got it, and the strings, they need to be replaced.
Sure.
So it sounds. I got it in tune.
You just you just look up dulcimer strings, I think.
I probably will. Sweetwater, right? Sweetwater's got those on the website, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm guessing. Yeah. Do you have your own personal web page on Sweetwater?
I don't. No. You mean like a secret login?
Yeah, like a back door for all the stuff that nobody else gets to see. It's like private stock.
It's definitely not like that. No, it's not. No. You know what's great though? When you're, I don't know how to put this. When you're as frequent as a customer, they don't call you and bug you all the time, which is really nice too.
That is nice.
That is kind of nice.
Yeah, they don't have to call. That's the thing. So they have a counter for everybody's name, and it's actually a 2-week counter.
A 2-week counter.
If you haven't made a purchase in 2 weeks, they go ahead and drop you a call. You haven't made the 2 weeks yet, so that's the good news.
So I have gone much longer in between than 2 weeks, to order gear. And even when there was a while, I can't remember what year, a couple of years back, maybe, that I didn't order something for a while, still didn't get a call, which is kind of nice. I think my Sweetwater guy, Dennis Konecki, shout out to him over there at Sweetwater in Indiana. I think he's just that busy because he's been doing it for 20 years or something. So that works out pretty
if you
well
have a,
too.
you know, it's like in anything. If you've got a knowledgeable salesperson for, you know, maybe if you're unsure of something you want to purchase, you just know what it is, but maybe you don't know the exact model. A good salesman's hard to find.
It is. And I do feel like sometimes kind of a Richard, because when I email him, like when I'm getting ready for a new order or something I want to get, and like he's a bass player, you know, first. And I usually, I feel bad because I email him like, hey, you know, I'm getting ready. I'm thinking like, you know, this bass when I bought my bass, right?
Sure.
Or the amp and stuff like that, which I love. But I was asking for his opinions. And of course, I was almost so set in my way, even though I wanted to hear somebody else's opinion on it. He gave it all to me, and I'm like, yeah, well, I really want to just order this one. So I kind of felt bad. But he's super cool and super handy. And I feel like
he had that stress ball in his hand.
Yeah,
and that thing was just going nuts because he's like, I just told this guy for 10 minutes. I just told him everything he wanted to know. And then he just said, yeah, okay, well, I don't really care what you said. So I'm going to go ahead and order this anyways.
It wasn't completely like that. I let him down a little bit easier than that. But no, sometimes I get that way, though, when I'm like set, you know, what I want. But the thing is, I do change my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
He recommended the Aguilar, you know, brand, because I was like set on Ampeg,
Okay.
which is a big, well-known, you know, like
Absolutely.
bass brand. You know, the big 810, you know, cabinets that you may see on stage, those monstrous cabinets, those
Sure.
Ampeg ones. But I realized after doing a little more research and based off his suggestion of the brand, I found that something like this is a lot nicer because the one that I have that you can't see on camera, it's the Neo cone, so it's a lot lighter too, and I don't need something really large because I'm not going to really gig out with it very much.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
you know, if you're going to hang your sweatshirt on it, either one will probably suffice.
But you know what's really nice though? My drum kit, I hang my sweatshirts on.
Okay, so, because there's a lot more hangers, you know, with those silly cymbals and all those things up there taking up all that space.
Well, I made sure when I got my E-kit, the Roland kit, that I made sure that I got enough cymbals, so there were more hangers, like you just said.
Yeah, you know, you got to have plenty of space there. You know, the good news is if it's in your way, you can always just bring it to my house.
Oh, you got room over there?
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
So how many drum kits do you have now?
I have, oh boy, 4.
Yeah.
I'm down to 4.
And Mike's a drummer. We didn't talk about this up front,
Yeah.
But he's a drummer in the Quad City area, and you do really well with, I don't know, I don't want to give away any secrets, but trading, right? Up and as you trade, you
Yeah,
kind of do
I
pretty
just,
well.
you know, I'll play something for a while. I'm kind of like Ed. I'm kind of a gear guy, but I like really nice gear as well. So
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with playing something for a while and buying, selling, trading up, however it works to get what you want in the end.
That's good. So you said 4 kits now?
That's right. Yep, 4 kids.
And they're technically, so I wanted to say they were all acoustics, but one has the triggers on it, right?
They're all acoustic kits. Yep.
Yep.
But I've got the one kit outfitted with Pearl True Track heads, and I've got a Roland TD12 brain and all Roland cymbals as a practice kit. So
That's cool.
I've played many electronic kits, you know, with the 8-inch pads and with all that. And I like this because the feel is still maintained of a big acoustic kit.
Sure.
Yeah, you can throw the headphones on and play. And, you know, Pearl they make their Redbox E-Pro kit, which uses the same True Track heads. But I just have a preference for the Roland brain and the Roland cymbals.
That's cool.
Yeah, I've had them all.
And you can still plug in like a monitor, so even if you still wanted to hear yourself, not just through headphones,
You can. It's got outs. You can go into a PA. You can do anything you want that way too. If you wanted to play live, people, you know, I've seen people play live with them. They sound great. I like the curb appeal of an acoustic kit if you're going to play out.
Yeah.
I've seen people play an electronic kit with real acoustic cymbals and then just put a fake kick drum in front of it, so you can't tell that it's electronic pads.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways to do it.
And what's the last time I saw you play live, I can't remember what was the kit you played again?
That kit was a Yamaha Tour Custom
Okay.
at the time.
Gotcha.
That kit's long gone.
It is long gone.
Yep, that one has been sold. So actually, to fund another kit that I'm yet to buy, I'm still in the market.
That's cool. Always in the market, right?
That's right.
You know, I got a guy over in Indiana if you ever want to reach out.
Yeah. I'm in the process of deciding what I want.
Yeah. So, the thing is with drums too, I feel like you probably need to spend more hands-on time to feel comfortable before making a decision, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Unless it's an electronic kit, because you know what you're going to get out of that, right?
Yeah. And I've had cheaper electronic kits, speaking on that, and it's hard to beat the Roland stuff. It really is. And you see a lot of longevity issues with other brands from what I've heard. And I absolutely beat the crap out of all my Roland stuff, and it still goes.
That's good. So when I do actually play that E-kit, that Roland E-kit, I do, I don't think I'm very easy on.
Yeah, all 3 times it's probably been pretty tough.
It was actually 4 times, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
I'm waiting for warmer weather because where it's at, and it's out, off the garage, and it's a little chilly, even though there's heat running to that room.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys, you guys probably got to agree with me here. Drums, you get kind of worked up and you get hot anyways, so you really want it cooler. Because now this summer, you know what Ed's going to tell me? Too hot.
That's all right. I got fans in there, extra fans in there though, so I'll be all right.
Yeah, too hot. It's just too hot in here. I was gonna play more, but it's just too hot.
No, I'm serious when I say this. Is that I want to get one of those tablet holders because I feel like the hardest part is when I'm sitting out there, and this is with probably any instrument too, because I realized in here that I use the computer a lot when I'm sitting with the guitar, and I'm trying to
absolutely
listen to and visualize or watch YouTube covers to try to get a feel for how a song's played, or the original played live, on YouTube. So I just need something like that to keep me going.
So what I ended up doing on my practice kit, which is where I spend most of my time learning new material or other things, I have a laptop sitting next to it, and then I've got a 21-inch monitor just stuck right on the drum rack, right past the hi-hat. So if I chart out a song and just make a roadmap of notes of where everything is in the song, I'll put it right up there. And that just kind of helps me. You can learn a song twice as fast by charting it out and basically just giving yourself a roadmap of what's there with just some real quick notes you can glance at for the chorus beat, the verse beat, if there's a bridge, things like that. Or if I want to look at the entire drum sheet music, I can bring that up there too if I'm working through an intricate part of the song. And then it's right there at my disposal. You're not trying to shuffle through papers and
right. Yeah.
It's kind of what you're saying. You got to have it accessible. Or if I want to pull something up on YouTube, right? It's all right there.
I feel like that's what I definitely need to just get is that tablet holder. And we got some extra tablets laying around that kids don't use anymore.
Sure.
Because tablets aren't cool anymore, like they used to be for them.
They were really cool for a while.
When you get a phone, all of the tablet, they don't care about the tablet.
I would much rather stare at a 4-inch screen than a 10-inch screen.
I understand. The problem is you can't stick a 4-inch or you can't stick the tablet in your back pocket though too. That's the other problem.
Yeah. Oh, well, if you get it like, what is it, a Galaxy Note, it's the same thing,
Basically, right? Some of these phones are getting pretty crazy.
So funny story. I got a buddy that was having back problems, and his chiro or something legit told him, you got to quit. And he wore it on his belt, right?
His phone?
Yeah. This big Galaxy Note on his belt.
Like one of those clip things or something?
Yeah,
or
total
whatever.
homer.
Sure.
And his chiro actually told him, stop carrying that phone on your belt.
That's what he told him.
Yeah. I'm like, really? It's huge, but it still only weighs 5 ounces or something. I don't know.
Right. I don't understand. I guess.
I think he just was trying to let the guy know, you really look like a dork, and you really should take that off of your belt.
So I used to do that too. Do you ever put one on your belt like that before? Back in the day?
Only if I'm making fun of somebody else.
Sure. Well,
I actually, honestly, I did.
You did too?
Back in the day, yeah.
Yeah, I did as well. So.
But at this point now, you can't do that.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you could.
I did see a guy at my work the other day. Still has a flip phone.
Does he really?
Rocking that thing.
Some people won't let it go, and they don't. I run into this when I'm for my work, and I'm trying to train salespeople. Is basically some of the older guys. They're
stuck in their ways, right?
Well, of course, then they say that here's the best excuses is that they don't want to pay for it, of course. They're afraid of the technology, or it's something like it's easier for their wives to get a hold of them or something like that, or their wives have more access or something. I can't remember what one excuse was, but it's just funny to hear their excuses, right?
Yeah. Just think about that. Did you ever have a pager?
I did not. Did you have a pager?
I did have a pager.
So when you were at Texarkana at that barn, did you have one on your?
Actually, at that point in time, our on-call guy carried a pager.
Did he?
Yes. Yeah. We all had cell phones by then, but it was not a smartphone or anything like that. Obviously.
Oh yeah, sure.
In Texarkana.
In Texarkana. Did you ever have one of those? Do you remember your first? My first flip phone was a Motorola StarTAC years ago. I don't know if you remember those phones or not.
Funny story. I actually worked at Motorola, and I worked on those flip phones.
Did you really? The StarTACs?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
So I was a electronics tech there, and I did work on the cell phones, and then I graduated to working on the robotics and the test equipment there.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
But I did spend a year analyzing and fixing cell phones.
Gotcha.
In the factory.
So you went. So these machines again. What was the brand? Did you say the machines were the machining that you went and did your trips for?
Oh, that was the company is called Mazak.
Mazak. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It was good company, good people that worked there. It just the travel thing after a couple of years for me was enough. So hung it up.
A couple of years, yeah.
Yeah.
Early 2000s, Lincoln Continentals, right?
Lincoln Continentals. That was kind of the fun thing, I was in a rental car every week all the time.
Yeah.
So obviously you're pretty hard on those. But it was a good opportunity. I'm a car guy. So it was a good opportunity to drive different cars and see like, wow, this thing's a pile, or this is nice. I could get used to this. So that was nice.
Yeah. So have you taken a Lyft yet or an Uber? Or
I have,
like that?
yes.
Where'd you take that at, just out of curiosity?
So my first ever, last summer we went to the CMA festival in Nashville.
Sure.
And so we used Lyft basically the entire time we were there.
That's good.
It's just it's great,
It's super easy to use.
It's very easy. And then ironically, I haven't used it since. I went to see a band a couple months ago here from home, and I took a Lyft from my house in Davenport to Moline. Okay, great. Lyft will not pick you up in Moline, so I had to take an Uber back.
Oh, that's so funny.
So they have like constraints where they can only pick up and drop off from so many places. So
okay.
I had to switch hats on the way back, which was fine.
Yeah, you just download another app, right?
Yeah, I already had both apps.
Oh, did you? Okay.
But I just used the Lyft because I had good luck with it before, and it's cheap. I think it was like $12 or something.
It is.
And if you want to go have a few drinks and have a good time, it's much easier to take an Uber or a Lyft and not have to worry about it.
Absolutely. You know what we have out here in Durant? There's a tractor that comes around and picks people up.
Yeah. Speaking of tractor, on the way here tonight, there was a guy in a lawn tractor. I come popping over the hill, and he's right there in his lawn tractor with his snowblower on the front of it. I had to about lock the brakes on.
Holy cow.
Right in the middle of the road. Can't, wearing his Carhartts, hood up, not even paying attention to the road. It's pretty stupid.
Yeah, you got to be careful out there.
Yeah, we got lots of snow here the last couple of days, so.
Yeah, just a little bit. So I'm glad you could make it still. I know you got the old Dirty Max.
Yeah.
That's what you took over here tonight, right?
Tonight, no. I'm in the wife's car tonight, so.
Well, let's not speak about that one.
It's not a Duramax.
It's not a Dirty Max, no. You ever call it Dirty Max just for the fun? No, that's an insult probably, right?
Yeah. I like to keep my stuff clean. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know you do. I know you keep it clean. I don't mean like the condition of the vehicle. I meant like the powertrain, the Dirty Max.
I understand.
Rolling coal?
Rolling coal. Yes.
Rolling coal.
Not rolling. Now you sound like an old man. Rolling
coal. Rolling coal.
Rolling coal. It's actually our country band. We're just getting started here. We've been going for about 5 months now. It's basically put together of a bunch of guys that were in rock bands, and we just thought we'd love to try something different. So a bunch of guys from a bunch of different bands got together, and we're going to do the country thing, and we're having a blast, hoping to be out this summer.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though I absolutely can't stand country music, for the record, and a lot of you already know that, I'll still be there to support you on that first show at the very minimum.
I couldn't tell you how many times I asked Ed, I'd love to have his guitar skills out there. And he just short of, kicked me while I was down.
Basically, yeah. Unless it's a Garth Brooks tribute band, I got nothing to do with it. So
he does love some Garth.
I do love Garth, absolutely. You ever heard the song Rodeo before? It's a classic.
Yeah, you should hear him sing it. Maybe many of you probably have. We're all fans.
No.
We're all fans.
No, it's okay. You don't want to hear it.
This guy's a man of many talents.
No, absolutely not. Well, I don't know if this is a talent, but obviously something else been doing here. Thanks again for being on the second episode, and it's just kind of fun to try something new. And the nice thing is with this equipment too, which we may have talked about, or I talked about with Mike Behrensmeyer, is like I can use it for something else music related too, like these
Absolutely.
microphones.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not like this is setting me back thousands of dollars for all this stuff.
Sure. Yeah. And he loves Backstreet Boys. So he spent most of his day with these microphones and Backstreet Boys.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah. So I record all the Backstreet Boy covers that I can possibly do in one day. Just playing back. It makes me, I don't know, it's very like calming to.
The most odd thing about it is he still has a Backstreet Boys poster in his bedroom.
That's right.
Isn't that, I mean, to me, that's a little weird, but hey.
The thing is, Ashley likes it though. My girlfriend Ashley, she thinks it's all right, so we'll leave it in there.
That is great. That is great. Everybody's got to love something,
They do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so a lot of traveling for work in the past. Obviously, I do that now too, which is thankfully not as much travel when it comes to, flying a whole lot. Even though we were down in Phoenix, and then we have to be in Vegas here in a couple of months too. But a lot of road time,
Yeah.
And I don't know. I know you flew more obviously than you drove.
We did drive a fair amount too. Being based out of the Chicago office, there is a lot of work around Indiana, Ohio, Chicago. So
sure.
you do a fair amount of driving.
Yeah. Do they give you like company cars back then, or do you just pay you for the one?
You got a rental car.
Just rental car
everywhere.
All the
time.
Yeah. Gotcha.
You had the option to take your own car and get reimbursed mileage, and we had some guys that did that. I was just always, I'd rather have a rental car and not put the miles on my own vehicle.
No, I understand.
So I tell you, it was a great experience. I wouldn't want to do it now that I'm a little older, but for a young single guy, it's a great experience and a lot of exposure, learning a lot of things. I'm a mechanical, hands-on kind of guy. I like learning anything I can.
Sure. Yep.
So anything for me on that is good.
Yep. Yep. I mean, being on the road definitely can be definitely hard on you. Traveling a lot. I mean, I put 50,000 miles a year on my vehicle.
Sure.
On my Silverado, but the nice thing about being in a Silverado is that it's a lot more comfortable than being in a rental car.
Yes.
Or whatever it might be. The thing is, we've gotten company cars in the past that were traditionally like, they were cars, right?
Sure.
Malibu, which there's nothing wrong with those vehicles, by the way. Love those vehicles too, Impala, Malibus, but nothing beats being in a truck too, especially growing up in the country.
Yes.
That's all I ever had was trucks. I always had like a truck and a fun car. That was kind of always the thing. But that's why I miss having a fun car around.
Yeah, I think you need a fun car. That's
do.
all you're missing at this point.
The thing is that the kids want to go to college,
Yeah.
But
in a fun car, possibly.
No, not in a fun car. And,
Okay.
We were talking about manual transmissions earlier, and I'll definitely be getting a manual transmission because kids don't get taught how to drive manual
That's right.
transmissions
They can't steal your car if it's a manual.
That's exactly right. Nobody's stealing my Camaro when I get one someday.
Yeah.
If I can afford that, I may have to get like a,
second job.
second job. You hiring over there?
No,
Not
No.
so much.
No, I don't think so. I was kind of curious if you were hiring, being, Ed is, you got so many talents,
Oh.
so I can see where
You already brought that up. No.
it's multifaceted musician,
No.
this guy can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, just trying to stay busy, like I said, and eventually the drums and, even on the bass, try to further myself on those two just so I can be a little more, I don't know, experienced on those two.
What would you recommend? So let's say that your son or someone comes up to you as a young, maybe preteen or teenager and say, I would like to learn an instrument. No, it doesn't even matter which instrument it might be. What's the path based on your experiences of where you're at? What's the path that you would say is the best path for them to take as far as learning an instrument and maximizing on their efforts?
Just focus on one. Don't be like me and get a few of them, right?
Sure.
Right. It's focus on one. Pick which one you want. The problem is, and I tried this with the boys too, is that it seems like and no offense, but it seems like a lot of younger kids these days, if you don't get some quick gratification from doing something,
immediate,
you're not going to basically stick with it. Which,
absolutely.
You know, for me, I don't know for you on drums, and I guess we can get that in a moment, but when I started playing guitar in high school, you know, or early high school, I remember playing for the first couple of years pretty steadily, but then it was like closet toy where it comes out, you know, just to kind of jam through a couple of riffs.
Impress the girls.
Jam through a couple of riffs and basically maybe at like get-togethers or something. I don't even think at the time, so I don't even think I owned an acoustic. I used my dad's, you know,
Okay.
but I never actually had an acoustic. So
Sure.
it was me plugging an electric guitar into a little tiny practice amp, you know, when other people were around back then just to jam. But I wasn't in my first actual band until probably in my mid-20s, and at that point I wasn't playing regularly. It was really, so you asked what would you say? Honestly, you find somebody to play with. That's really the best thing to do. You know, if you can stick with an instrument and find enough drive to where if you're with a group of kids or guys
Sure,
or gals,
absolutely.
right, and you need to, it's almost like that swift kick and the you know what to get you motivated to keep moving.
That's right. You're at this point, you're accountable to your other bandmates.
Exactly. Yep. And some people, they treat that differently, you know, and let's face it, we both know there's musicians out there that aren't very accountable, or they don't maybe
right.
follow through like they should.
Right.
But it's important, I think, especially if you're going to commit to something like that, to try to, and I think that's what you need. I think pick an instrument, stick with it, find some people to jam with, and then really you'll find that your improvement level, like from when I started playing guitar, maybe it'll be the same with you on drums.
Sure.
When I started playing guitar, I didn't have the same advancement like I did when I started playing with some guys. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Yep.
For you on drums, when did you start playing?
So for me, it was a little bit different. I basically bought a drum kit and I went and bought this pack of DVDs. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Because at that point in time, I didn't want to spend the money for lessons, honestly. So I bought this $100 pack of DVDs and started there. And I thrashed through these DVDs in like 2 years. And it did give me a good baseline of learning something. And I knew my way around the equipment, and it taught me how to read drum sheet music and some things like that I feel like I still use today all the time. So I'm really glad I did that. But it's still doing that self-learning. It still didn't tie it all together for me.
Sure.
There were still a lot of gaps when I listened to a song or something at that point in time. I just didn't quite get how to tie it all together. So at that point in time, I went to a local place and I got drum lessons. QC Rock Academy out of Davenport. They were actually just starting up their business at that point in time. Went and talked to Greg down there. He's the director down there. Great guy.
What was Greg's last name?
Greg Hipskind. Real good guy. So started taking lessons from him, and I did 2 years of lessons with him, and that really honestly just brought it all together to where it all made sense at that point. So that was huge for me. I do think it was worth it for me to kind of noodle around a little bit on my own for the first 2 years and get some things figured out.
Sure.
The downside of that is you do pick up some bad habits when you maybe don't have the correct instruction.
Of course. Yeah.
And I think anybody could probably agree with that. But at the same time, I also felt like I wasn't under so much pressure to do some self-learning and learn some things. And then, you know, you take lessons, you get it's that accountability again. You got every week you're going back to see. I'm going back to see Greg, and if I'm not doing the parts that I'm supposed to learn within that week,
yeah,
he's on me, right?
So that's good. I mean, I think that's kind of a similar way with if you're jamming with some other guys in a band, right? You still have to be accountable to have your stuff
and
ready,
so
right?
I did that for 2 years, and then I kind of got to the point where I'm like, I think I have a really solid base now. I think I can kind of go back to on my own. And not too long after that, I was able to get into my first band and get with the other guys, and that's really where it just took off, and you can learn a ton. There's a whole nother aspect of learning when you start getting with all the other musicians as opposed to playing by yourself in the basement. The one thing I can say is through all my learning, I always played to a metronome.
And that's good. Yep.
And so I've had some guys tell me now that I've played music with, like, wow, you know, we've had problems, and I'm not tooting my own horn by any means. They say, hey, your tempo is very steady. There's not a lot of ups and downs. And they say that we've played with guys that we've had that problem.
Oh yeah. Yep. I think we all have. It doesn't matter if it's drums or the rest of the band too, speeding things up, right?
Yeah, and that's not to say I haven't played it too fast or too slow.
Right. Yeah.
But at least it's constant.
It's consistent.
That's right.
That's good. So when you listen to a metronome, is it like through a click track in your ear?
That's
Is that
right.
what you're doing?
Yep.
It's like an in-ear monitor system.
Yep.
Gotcha. That's pretty neat then. Yeah. So the same kind of thing. Then you feel the same, basically, whether it's lessons or if it's with other bandmates, is probably the best way to do that, right?
Yeah, it's accountability. You know, I got a good friend that I'm trying to work with, and he's doing some drum lessons. I'm doing some guitar stuff, and trying to get that going and hold each other accountable on that.
Yeah, that's good.
So,
what have you been playing lately on guitar?
You know, I'm honestly just trying to get to where I can play chords without muting strings and sounding good.
Yeah, that's good.
Just I don't ever plan to be a guitar player, you know, on quotes, but I would like to be able to play chords and play some songs and have some fun with it. Nobody ever wants to sit around and listen to drums by themselves, right? But if you can play some guitar, it's a pleasing sound, and
sure, absolutely.
And just as a challenge to myself, I want to be able to learn some more of it.
Yeah, just don't be that guy at the campfire and play Wonderwall or something all night, right?
Yeah, although that's a big hit. You know, Ed loves that song.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a classic. Everybody enjoys it, so we keep playing it.
Yeah, even if you don't like it.
And then I cry myself to sleep at night. You know, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Little Wonderwall never hurt anybody.
Yeah. I remember we had a discussion when you started the acoustic project.
Oh, yeah. And my solo thing?
Yeah. And you said Wonderwall was not on the playlist. And so...
It's still not on the playlist.
I come out to watch you on the very first night.
Yeah.
And what song got played? Wonderwall.
Only because it was requested by some bar patrons at the end of the night.
It was.
And thankfully you were there, and Mike Behrensmeyer was there too.
Yes.
I couldn't have done it without you guys.
I tell you, we had a great time.
It was a great time. You know, if I'm going to embarrass myself, I might as well be with some other
That's
guys
right.
too, right? Exactly.
And you know, my favorite part about the whole thing was that I wasn't even the one yelling it and requesting it, you know, for fun. It was actually like 3 bar patrons that just kept repeating it.
Yeah.
And Ed, you know, he didn't hear it the first 5 requests, but he heard the 6th.
Didn't hear it, right. I got bad hearing. You can ask Ashley.
You know, and you know, you're a good guitar player, so why not just play it and make people happy?
That's what I'm there for, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly. Hopefully everybody's having fun.
Yeah. He's you know, multi-instrumentalist. He plays a cajon while he's playing his guitar in his acoustic project.
You can stop selling it. It's okay. But yeah.
He makes it a good time.
I do.
He does.
I try to.
It's all about having fun.
Who knows? It could be over. It could be over before I know it. You never know. Maybe I'll never get... Maybe it won't...
materialize, right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'll play a bunch of places and maybe that'll be it. After halfway through the year, I'll be just doing this full time. Doing this 3 times a month instead.
Yeah. I mean... It's worth a shot, right? You might as well keep doing it.
Did you bring your guitar to play anything tonight?
I feel like, no.
You didn't?
No, I didn't.
So the great thing about this is I could totally have somebody play and sing in here.
Yes.
If they brought an acoustic or even if it was a small group that wanted to come in here. Probably not that. I don't think there's enough room. Probably not. But still.
But you could play acoustically. You know, just...
You could. Yeah, exactly.
Get a couple people in here and...
Here's the thing: is they don't have to bring anything. That's the great thing about here. Is I've got the cajon, you know, I've got the acoustic guitar.
Yeah, I come out here. It's like Guitar Center here. You know what I'm saying?
It's really not. It's really not. All the stuff's on loan. I gotta have it back.
Yeah,
I gotta have it back. Tomorrow.
He actually he picked it all up at Aaron's, the rent-to-own place. He's got the mattress. He got at the same place. So.
It's such a good rate, though. I couldn't pass it up. 23% was pretty good.
Yeah, I'll take that. That guitar amp and that mattress.
Why not?
Yeah, you know.
If they give you such a good deal, you might as well.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So all the music stuff aside, though, and I guess traveling. Besides that, you know, this year, what's going on this year? Anything exciting?
Like I said, nothing too exciting. We got the new band, Rollin' Coal, going to be coming out. Having a lot of fun playing that. Trying to get that kicked off. Other than that, nothing real exciting. Lots of sports.
What about sports with the kids, of course.
Lots of kids sports.
Yeah.
That consumes a lot of time, but I know I'll miss it someday when it's gone. So
yeah,
I'd like to do it all now. And we have 2 baseball practices tomorrow. 8 inches of snow on the ground. We have 2 baseball practices
They have
indoors,
that,
obviously.
right, at a gym somewhere, obviously. Yep, exactly. Yeah, and before you know it, it will be over. It seems like. Same with my kids too, of course.
Sure.
With our kids here, but yeah, we don't have anything baseball related though until we get a little bit closer to summer. It looks like with Durant area up here.
You know, so when my oldest son was 4, I bought him a Canon Jam Junior drum kit.
Yeah.
With big aspirations of hoping my son would follow in my footsteps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't care less.
It's well, like we talked about earlier, short attention spans are not getting that gratification quickly. I mean, with the kids,
right.
It's the same thing with them too. Tried with that and
things that take a lot of effort. It seems like they don't. You know, they can hop on. They all like playing video games
or watching other people play video games.
Yeah, even on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah.
And if it's a game that seems like they got to put too much work into it, well, then they'd rather just go on to the other game.
Exactly, or jump back on the smartphone. You know.
Yeah.
Whatever that game is they're playing too. I feel like there's always some kind of mobile game if it isn't on PlayStation. You know that they're doing Fortnite or whatever lately.
Yeah, you know, and they all. I think it's good that they're at least getting some interaction with their buddies by playing online.
Yeah.
Things like that. I don't think hurts anything.
I don't think so either.
However, I think doing that for 4 hours a night, there's better things you could be doing for. I'm not saying it's bad, and there is good things that come out of it, but you should direct some of their attention to something else. And we try to make our kids read every night and do other things.
Yeah, the boys here, they got to read every night. They have to, not just for ELA from school, you know, but
yeah,
want to make sure they read too. But yeah, that's just the way it is. And I can't complain too much, you know, about them playing video games because, you know, I played a lot of video games growing up myself.
Sure.
I wasn't fortunate enough to have the online play, you know, growing up
Right.
because I think that's where a lot of it you get sucked into, probably with the Fortnite game and all that.
Yeah, that stuff has come so far.
Oh my god!
You know, too.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It is. It's pretty amazing. I remember just playing, you know, for hours, just one game, you know, like Super Mario or, you know, Legend of Zelda series or something like that, and
sure.
getting so much gratification out of that, you know, from following a story, you know, building. That's just the thing. It's like, I think a lot of these games like Fortnite, you're not building any story or what's the word I'm looking for? You're not building that. You know, it's like a good movie, right, or a TV show.
Sure. Right.
You like, I don't know if you fall in love with the characters or something like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's not like that with a lot of the online games, which I'm guilty of.
Yeah. There's no end.
And even today, you know, I play like Battlefield series online or something like that, which is a lot of fun. You don't build anything really there. It's just mindless entertainment, basically.
Yes.
Which I do have the instruments I play, though. It'd be nice to get the kids more split up that video game time. Of course, force them almost to.
You know, I've got my brother. He's a heavy machine operator. He's a crane operator. He was always a huge gamer as a kid, and he still is a gamer. And I attribute his hand-eye coordination to running these ginormous cranes to all of his years of play video games. So it's not all bad.
I believe it. No, absolutely. I think it helps.
There are good things to come out of it. It's just what you choose to do.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever saw, and if we talked about this, but my amp stack, my cabinets live, that I use, those two 212 cabinets. You've seen the artwork that's on that before?
Yep.
Yeah, that was from Quake, the first-person shooter.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever heard of that before.
I have, yes.
The enemy on that is called a shambler, and basically, I know we got Smoking Joe up here, but for anybody,
the camel. Do we call Camel Cache?
Camel Cache, C notes.
Yes.
Right. C notes right here. Yep.
You remember cigarette vending machines?
Yeah. There was one actually I remember playing at a venue in Rock Island called Martinis on the Rock. It had a vending machine for that too.
It almost gives me memories of, going into bars when they could still smoke. Now, some states you can still do that. It's just a different thing when you're not used to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. And thankfully I don't run into that. I don't miss smelling the smoke in bars and stuff like that,
Sure.
you know, which is funny because I think when I don't know if I had maybe not that many gigs where I played in a bar where there was smoke. So I feel like, when did that law even happen? When did that come into effect?
Oh, geez. It's probably been 12 years.
Something worth checking out later.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah. But the Shambler, put that art or a variation of this guy on my amp, because I spent a lot of time playing that growing up too, from the game Quake. That was my first-person shooter game, and wasn't the only style game I played. But did you ever play anything like that growing up at all?
I did not.
You did not? Okay.
There's probably no one person that watched less TV or played less video games than me.
Than you? Yep. What were you doing a lot of then? When you grew up?
Growing up, we had a neighborhood of kids, and whatever sport was in session, we were outside playing that sport.
That's cool.
For the most part, we had woods. We kind of lived in a rural area, so we might be back, in the woods farting around. Or I rode dirt bikes and 4-wheelers and stuff like that too. So
that's cool.
Just other things. We did have, my brother, again, was a huge gamer, and so we had all the systems. It's not like our parents deprived us. It just wasn't a huge thing for me.
That's cool. I respect that. And I grew up riding 3-wheelers, and then moved to 4-wheelers and things like that too. So
sure.
I lived out on a 50 acres of my grandparents' land.
Okay.
Basically, and there was woods and a pond, and grew up riding Honda ATCs. And
yes.
Remember what you grow up? What was your main bike you
said
riding up?
My first bike was a 1970 Honda Trail 70.
Trail 70?
So, they had the handlebars you folded and you could throw them in a trunk, that whole deal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Keep talking. I'm listening.
I actually got that bike when I was 4 or 5 years old, and I put 5,000 miles on it as a kid. Yes. Yeah, mine was an orange one.
Oh, it was an orange one to go with
Yeah, just exactly like that. That's it right there.
Somebody wrote something on that picture.
And now those things are worth a large amount of money.
Oh, I can only imagine.
And the funny thing is that my dad gave mine away to another family that they, had young children, and him and I still argue about it to this day. So he gave away my my Honda Trail 70, my CT70.
Yeah.
And apparently it caught fire and burnt to the ground after that. But
oh, it did. Yeah.
I would love to have it today, just as like a fun little family thing. But here's the funny thing about it too, was the throttle cable was kind of messed up on it.
Sure.
So whenever you would make a left-hand turn, it would put the throttle all the way on. So you always had to be careful when you made left-hand turns.
That's funny. Well, I'm kind of jealous though. In this picture, when I glanced over, I noticed one important thing that I'd never had on my early 3-wheelers.
Shocks.
On the back. Always had them on the front.
Yeah.
Well, not always. There was a 90 I think we may have had that didn't have front shocks, but I never had a rear shock. And I had the ones I started riding first. So that was yours. This is what I rode then. I rode this is what I started on.
Okay.
Yep.
Is it a 110?
This is a 185S.
A 185S. Okay.
Yeah, 185S. I don't know my Hondas extremely well, but I feel like the S meant more, even though it didn't have a rear shock, maybe more sporty. Because see how the fender was?
Oh, that is so sporty.
Kind of curl or not? It was curved, right? Where some of the other ATCs, there was more like a squared off fender.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 185S. Oh, check this out. That is so awesome. That
I would almost pay money to see you on that today.
I could handle that like no other.
We had a kid in our neighborhood that had he had a Honda 110, and then he had like a Yamaha Moto 1 something.
Yeah.
And he was the craziest guy ever on that thing. And then eventually when he graduated to a 4-wheeler, one of the best quad riders that I'd ever ridden with.
Yeah. So I took pride. I felt like I knew how to handle those things pretty well. Of course, that came at the expense of me biting it plenty of times.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
I do.
Dude, I remember one time that I wrecked so badly on one of those because a friend up the road in Illinois City where I lived, they had like a backfield with like a area where you could, there you go.
Sure.
Where you could jump, right? Like in a field.
Yeah.
And because there's no rear shock. Well, I remember one time I landed wrong and I ended up really messing up my back really bad. I remember hiding that from my dad because I didn't want didn't want him to take it away, right?
Yep.
Because obviously the 3-wheeler handled it like a boss.
Yeah, you were the suspension.
I was the
Your back.
suspension. And, you know, when
Exactly.
you land those wrong, because there's no rear shock, you know, you have to land it just right to let the front
That's right.
drop down. And it bucked me off. And, man, I thought my back was done for. That was, like, I remember the week after that, just trying to walk normal.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't get that taken away.
No, you can't lose a three-wheeler.
You can't lose the three-wheeler. But anyway, I did end up really, you know, figuring out how to ride that thing pretty well. Man, I could get that through the trails, you know what I'm saying, tight trails.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Work that throttle just right, and it's not like it was a twist or anything, but the thumb throttle with the tires were pretty decent, so you can slide it,
Exactly.
you know. And
you know, it's funny you talk about you got hurt, your back got hurt on this.
Yeah.
When I was in my Mazak stint, I bought a four-wheeler off a guy in Atlanta.
in Atlanta, like when you were traveling
Yeah,
for work?
he was one of my customers down there.
Okay.
And
yeah.
he raced quads.
What was it?
Honda 250R.
Okay.
80,
Nice.
87 250R.
Yep.
He had 4 of them. And he said, hey, listen, I broke my back racing. I
Yeah.
got 4 of these. We got to talking because I had 2 other quads at the time.
Sure.
I said, I had a Suzuki 250R. I said, I've always wanted a Honda. He said, I've got 4 of them. I'll bring them all to work tomorrow. You pick whichever one you want. If you want to buy it, I'll crate it up and send it to you.
That is awesome.
And so he brought them all. I rode them all in the parking lot. And I picked one, coincidentally the one that he broke his back on. He hit a big like triple jump at a race and basically accordioned his back on the top of he cased it on the jump. At any rate, I bought it and I checked on shipping rates and Roadway wanted like $800 to send it. He said, no. So he shipped it as machine parts is what he said it was from his company. It cost me $140.
Nice.
Yeah, picked it up in a crate. They were supposed to drain all the fluids and stuff. Of course, he didn't.
Of course not.
I broke the crate open, hit the Kickstarter, and took off riding it when I got it home. So,
how long did you have that then? And I bet you kicked yourself for selling that.
I actually just got rid of it probably 3 years ago. I blew it up. We used to ride it all the time. We used to go to Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky. We used to take our quads all over the place.
over in Indiana.
Yes. Yeah. Have you been there?
No, but I know about it.
Okay.
Though.
We used to go all over. And I blew it up. And so then I just sat on it forever and didn't do anything with it. And I figured, well, at least if it's blown up, my wife won't make me sell it. So I ended up rebuilding the motor in it, getting it running.
You yourself, did you take it to like Brenny's or
No,
someplace?
I did it myself.
Okay.
I had somebody hone the cylinder out, but other than that, I put it all back together and everything. So
Gotcha.
no big deal. And decided to sell it because I'm like, I'm not going to ride this anymore. I had finally had we had kids and stuff.
Sure, right.
So I sold it to a guy. And like 3 months later, another guy was riding it and hit a motorcycle head on with it. And they were both in the hospital for like 4 months, totaled it out.
Holy cow. Wow.
It didn't have headlights or anything. It was set up for motocross.
Right. Yep.
And these guys had been drinking too much and he hit a bike head on with it. And they both spent a lot of time in the hospital. So I do miss the bike. I wish I had a quad today. We were just talking about that today, actually. You know, one of my favorite memories as a kid was one guy on the quad, one guy on a sled.
Oh, yeah.
And pulling around.
Yeah.
And so I thought, boy, my boys would love that now.
The funny thing just with the ATCs, my dad had a couple of John Deere snowmobiles, old school ones.
Yep.
And I feel like one of them was just like a parts one or something. And like he had just ended up he stripped it down and put like a piece of like plywood on the back of the frame, right? And then he put a chair on it, and that was like a redneck sled. Okay. Basically.
Yeah.
He took like an old patio furniture chair.
Nice.
Cut the legs in half so he could set that down and mount it on that board on the snowmobile frame. And then we pulled it around with the 185S.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, and you think back to your childhood, that's the kind of stuff that sticks out like, that was fun.
That was fun. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And that's why I'd love to have a quad again. I'd love to have, something like that. But the problem is, and I got room in the garage, but the thing is that I don't know where to go at this point.
I was just going to say, you could just keep it at my house. Actually, there's really not a problem. You say the problem is.
Just leave it there, right?
I've got plenty of room.
Plenty of room. I know you've got plenty of room.
So just leave it at my house.
I'd want to
with the key.
The thing is, I'd want to look at it every time I walk out, to the truck every day. Though, be like, oh yeah.
Well, I'll snap a couple pictures. We could make this work.
So where would you ride today though? That's just it. I mean, would you just basically travel to those?
Yeah, I still have some friends that are into it. You know, the funny thing is that I always thought, as when I was a teen, or maybe my early 20s before I had kids, I thought, I can't wait until I have kids because I want to buy them quads or dirt bikes, whatever, and I want to get them out riding like I've done for so many years, you know, since I was 4. But then you get older and wiser and you think, like, I know all the stupid stuff I did and how many times I got hurt and stuff. I don't want my kids anywhere near it.
Yeah, I understand.
Which is ironic. As much fun as I had doing that stuff, I just don't know if I would. I remember going on riding trips with guys that couldn't ride, right? You know, you're watching them, you're like, this guy's scaring me to death just watching him.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking, you know, now if that was my son or daughter or whatever, I'd be freaking out watching them. So I'm like, yeah, maybe that's not for me.
Oh, yeah. I understand. You
know,
got to protect the kids at the same time.
That's right.
Who knows, though? Who knows where life will take you at some point? I feel the same way. I feel like I'm slowly trying to get back to the country.
Sure.
That's what I'm slowly kind of doing.
Yeah.
One move at a time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
So I'd like to be at some point again in my life out where I've got not a lot of acreage, but just enough to kind of...
You want chickens and goats and stuff, right?
No, fuck all that. No. I just want to be able to ride. That's all I want to do. You know what I'm saying?
Why don't we just go buy some quads? We'll just go tomorrow.
You want to go tomorrow?
Yeah.
What would you get if you went out tomorrow?
Yamaha YFZ 450.
Yeah, that'd be so I'd get a Honda 450. I'd get the 450R, right? With, you know, it'd have to have the electric start model. So cause I'm too lazy to kick anything. You know.
Yeah.
But
you know,
maybe I get a 400EX though, just because I'd be nice to have reverse and I'm lazy.
Yes.
They're 400EX, even though it's not as obviously as fast or fun.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
So the funny story about the 400EX.
Yeah.
Me and a buddy of mine, we went out in it was 99 or 2000. And we said, we're going to go buy brand new quads.
Yeah.
He bought a 400EX.
Yeah.
I bought a Warrior 350.
Oh yeah. I remember the Warrior.
Because I wanted reverse, right?
Yeah.
And we brought him home, and I had ridden the Warrior at the time before that. And the 400EX was the first year they came out.
So they didn't have reverse yet, yeah.
It didn't have reverse, so I'm like, I'm not buying that. And then as soon as I rode that 400EX, I'm like, I'm an idiot.
It's lighter weight.
It's just faster, a wheelie machine. I'm like,
I remember riding one before. Yep.
I'm like, I don't want this Warrior anymore. I just paid, at the time it was like $5,000.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm bagging groceries at the time. You know.
Sure. Yeah.
So
those designs were so timeless. So the Banshee, the Warrior, they would just been like the same for, God, probably ever.
Absolutely.
Right? I feel like the Banshee had probably even been out so long as the when you had that 87.
They were both in the 80s.
Yeah,
when they came out, and then they made that same production bike for 20 years or
2-stroke still even.
Yeah.
You know, the Banshee. Yeah, I remember that the Warrior though, because it had the 2 headlights, the 2 round headlights, and the reverse 2. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I'm sure if you look at Craigslist and if you look at like Facebook groups,
yeah,
I'm sure you could probably find a beat up one super cheap.
The problem is, and I don't even have to tell you this, but I don't like junk.
I don't either.
And so that's why a lot of times I end up buying new because I can't stomach the thought of having something somebody else already drove into the ground.
Same way with me. Yeah.
And I've always been that way. So I've always bought a lot of new stuff, especially with that kind of thing. You can tell pretty easy when you look at them, you know, with the wear and tear and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, here's the thing with quads, though, and even back with 3-wheelers, too, is that you can replace plastic.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's,
you know
what I'm saying? It's hard to tell. It's
yeah,
not like
I think we just go pick them up.
Just go pick them up?
You know.
Tomorrow?
My wife calls them unapproved purchases.
Unapproved, yeah.
I showed up with a new truck one time.
Yeah.
A boat, 2 boats.
Sure.
And I'm literally like, when I bought my new truck, I'm like, hey, honey, I'm going to be late tonight. She's like, oh, okay. Like, you working late? And I'm like, no, I'm buying a truck. Wasn't quiet night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you got that truck, though.
I still have the truck.
Oh, it's not the Duramax?
It is the Duramax.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why I figured the one you were talking about.
I still have it. So
yeah. LBZ, man.
Best truck ever.
All the way.
It's the best truck ever.
You know, I would imagine that'd be able to haul a whole trailer full of quads.
Yeah. So what time tomorrow you think?
Are they actually open tomorrow? I got somewhere I got to be tomorrow.
Just go buy it and just leave it at my house. And, you know, Ashley doesn't care. You just leave it at my house, you know.
So I would care. That's the problem. but I got nowhere to ride. You don't have any? Do you have any land there at that?
Only like an acre and a half. So.
Oh, okay, just enough to ride it around though, right?
There's enough, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we could test it out tomorrow. And there's a ginormous cornfield right across the street, so there's
Was it beans or was it corn last year?
That's a great question. I don't remember.
Beans are a little bit easier.
They are definitely easier on riding.
Right, especially over the winter, unless they tilled it before.
They usually do.
I got lucky back growing up. Sometimes they wouldn't till, so we just like fly through the fields from field to field to field. The bean fields, like it would be a bean year.
Sure.
Oh yeah, they were lazy. Sometimes didn't till. We would fly, all the time. As soon as like literally, when the combine's out of the field, we're ripping
in the
through.
field. Yeah, and they don't mind so much as long as they're down. You know,
Yeah.
obviously, you go out there when their crop's up, they're not too happy.
Obviously not. No. So, yeah.
Yes.
So maybe tomorrow. Maybe not. Probably not.
It's only money.
It's only
Actually,
money. You can't take it with you. Why don't you just buy me one?
that's you can't. We just need to figure out how to sell it to our wives that they would enjoy it.
I could. Not that I know that. I don't think Honda, which is my brand, I don't think they're like a leader in the side by sides for performance variants. But
My brother has a Honda Pioneer.
Are they okay?
It's okay.
I know they're not like
It's
the
not
Razors.
a huge high performance. No,
It's not like the Polaris, but
it is not.
I know they make the 4-seater ones, which would be good for a family, obviously.
Yeah, he has his 4-seater and his Yeti cooler in the back. Sounds a little bit more your speed at this point in life.
What are you trying to say?
It's either that or the 110 ATC. You pick.
You know what? Sometimes it'd be more fun maybe to hop on that ATC. I remember jumping on the smaller ones when I got older just because it was fun. Round on them. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Just purposely do the wheelies to see if you can maintain it on the smaller ones.
Except it's still a 3-wheeler. Like I just never,
But that's just it. It's just for fun, right? It's not like you're going to take it out on the trails anymore. It's just something that stays in the yard that you can like do 2 wheels on.
Yeah.
That's about
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Anyway, so heck, I think we've been talking for well over an hour at this point.
I guess you just talk too much.
Do you have any final thoughts for this second episode?
I do not.
Are you going to come back someday?
I am going to come back. Yeah.
Because
We haven't even scratched the surface.
I was just going to say,
We got a lot to get into here.
well, also that, but we probably jumped around a little bit too, which is okay.
Yes.
But there's always something more to talk about.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Until next time, we got Mike McCleary with me. I never even said his name, but Mike McCleary was
That's
here,
it.
episode 2. See you next time.
Later on.